Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a flat cap or newsboy hat or a double bill hat. There's lots of names that it goes under, and I'm going to kind of give you a formula, but I'm also going to be showing you on the 48 peg 5/8 inch gauge loom, and this is the KK, the Nifty Knitter replacement for the purple loom that they had that is impossible to find. So if you wanted to get one of those, you can go to Cindy Wood's site and you can actually get their replacement of that particular loom that was available. So I'm going to be using the Peaches and Cream because I kind of want this to be a breathing kind of hat, because I'd like to wear it in the summertime. So I'm going to do a slip knot here. Okay, and I'm going to be doing a doubling the size of the yarn. I'm going to close that off a lot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up and pull that through there and just pull it. Okay, then I'm going to grab that and then pull and even it out. Okay. Now, I'm just going to slip that on there. Okay. So at this point, we'll need to get a breakdown. If you're wanting to use this loom, then what you'll need to do is you'll need to count over 6, put a stitch marker on the next peg, on the 7th peg, on that peg that you just put the stitch marker over, count 12, put a stitch marker on that 12th peg, go move to the next one, count 6, put a stitch marker there, which should be your halfway point. Okay, this is your guide for doing the bill area. Okay, and you want to kind of figure this up. You want to divide your pegs in half. So you take the number of pegs and you divide it by 2 and you get 24. Okay, and you can do this on any loom that you want. I'm going to give you the formula for it. So you divide that by 2 and you get 24 on this loom. Okay, well, you're going to divide 24 by 2, and that's going to give you 12. Okay, well, you need to divide 12 by 2 to put that in half, and that'll be 6. Okay, well, what the 12 is, which is your number B, number A is the first divider that you did. Number B is the 12, and that 12 is your point where you're doing your bill from here to here. When you divided it again, you got 6, which is the number of pegs on either side, to break it up evenly, so that when you go to do the second bill, you'll be working in between there. So you need the first bill to be evenly in between the second bill, which is going to be a little wider. Okay, and then you're going to take that same number 6, that's number C, and you're going to wrap and turn your way down to that number of pegs through here. Okay, so C is going to work for the number of single stitches you're going to wrap and turn down to in the middle, and it's going to be the number that you have on the sides here. Okay, and number B is the actual width of the first bill, and number A is the halfway mark and the width of the second bill. So let's get started. What we're going to do is we're going to skip those 6 pegs, and we're going to start E-wrap cast on those 12. Okay, so we stitch marker to stitch marker. So we E-wrap cast on. Now we're going to E-wrap a row back to get started. Now you're going to ear up till just before the last peg, which is over here, so you're going to stop here. Okay. You're going to wrap and turn the next peg, and then you're going to go and do the same thing. You're going to stop right here just before that last peg. Now you'll see that this will happen here where you're running to the end. You simply grab the yarn that's connecting to your spool. You grab it, pull it through, and that'll keep you going. Okay, now we're going to wrap and turn, and then we're going to E-wrap until just before the last wrap and turn. So we're going to stop here because we're going to be wrapping that peg next. Okay, you're going to wrap and turn, and you're going to continue to do this until you have 6 pegs in between, which should be 3 wrap and turns on each side. Okay, you'll see 3 wraps and turns on each side and 6 single stitches in between, which is what you want to be. Okay, now we've got half of the bill done. We're going to do the other half. So you're going to go in, you're going to start with the peg you finished and start wrapping, adding a wrap and turn in with each row until you get back to here. So start with the peg you just finished with and work your way over. Okay, add your first wrap and turn back in that you come to, and then you're going to go back the other direction, starting with the peg you just finished with, and you wrap over and add the next wrap and turn in, and you're going to do this row by row, adding the wrap and turn in until you have no more wraps and turns, and then we will go from there. Starting with the peg you finished. Add the next wrap and turn in. Okay, we're done with that, and now what we want to do is we want to bring our original cast on lips back, and if you've done the where most of us have started out, if you've done the brimmed hat, then this should not be too difficult for you. So we're gonna try to keep our working yarn out of the way. Put that on there and that. I'm just going to do that all the way across, and that's your first bill. Now, this is the only time you really have to even do this. And I will tell you the ends are a challenge to get, but it's okay. You're mostly wanting to make sure that you've got the majority of them up like that. So there is your first bill. At this point, what you want to do is you want to E-wrap cast on the rest of these pegs. Okay, at this point we're fixing to start our next section, and it's going to be a slight band area that separates the first brim with the second. And what we want to do is we want to take number A and we want to divide it by 5, which it was 24. So it's actually close to 25, which means you're going to do 5 rows of a rib stitch where you're doing E-wrap 1, purl 1. Okay. Well, just to keep it simple, we're going to E-wrap our first row just to get us started. There's a lot of just getting you started. So, and on these you're going to toss both loops over. Okay, and I basically just E-wrapped back to my starting point. And at this point, what you want to do is you want to start doing your rib stitch. Okay, and you're going to do it for 5 rows. So you're going to go E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, purl. And you're going to go around circularly for 5 total rows. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your 5 rows of rib stitch, and then we will go on to do our second bill and then make the rest of the hat. Okay, now that we've done that many rows, we're ready to start on the second bill. And the second bill works a lot like the first one, except you'll be working from the 24 peg mark over here rather than the 12 peg markers. Okay, and you're going to work down to the same 6 single stitches like you did on this one and work your way back up. So I'll get you started and then you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go back to E-wrapping. So I'm going to E-wrap over to my 24 peg stitch marker. Okay, I'm going to stop just before my stitch marker. Okay, and I'm going to wrap and turn and start working my way back to my starting point over here. And I'm going to stop here so that I can wrap and turn. Okay, wrap and turn and start the process back to the other side. Stop just before the last wrap and turn, so you're going to stop here so you can wrap and turn this one. So basically you're going to do the exact same thing that you did for this bill. You're just working a wider area and you're going to work down to those same 6 single stitches between wraps and turns, and then do the same process going back up, adding wraps and turns back in on either side until you are back to here. And then we're going to start working the rest of the hat. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your second bill just like you did your first one. Okay, you're just working a wider range. You're going to work down to those 6 single stitches again, and then you're going to work your way back out, but you're not going to have to pull anything back. Okay, you're just going to leave it loose, which means you're going to have an indentation there, so you don't have to bring any loops back. You just want to get to that point where you've wrapped and turned down to 6, added the wrap and turns back up until you are right back here. Okay, and then we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see, my working yarn stopped at that marker right there. Okay, and if you look at these 2 brims, you'll see that I went down to 6 and I worked my way back up. Okay, now the next section is basically going to be the rest of the hat, and it's going to be a back and forth. We're going to be working flat, And what we're going to be doing on this concept is slowly adding a peg back in on each side until we meet up in the very back here. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. Now don't forget your number D, which is what you used here. You're going to be doing that circularly after you complete and meet back up in the middle back here. So we just finished with this one. So we're going to E-wrap one more. Then we're going to wrap and turn, and we're going to E-wrap our way around to our starting point and one past. And what this wrap and turn is going to tell us where we ended. Make it a lot easier to keep up with. Okay, we've worked our way back to our starting point, and we're going to go one more. Toss that over, and then we're going to wrap and turn the next peg. Now our goal is to E-wrap all the way around to this wrap and turn here, and then we're going to wrap and turn this peg here. So we'll have added that peg back in, and this is now where we know we need to go to the next time. So I'm going to show you a couple more rows. So we're going to E-wrap our way back so you get the concept of what I'm trying to do here. Okay, here's our wrap and turn. We're going to wrap it, toss both loops over, wrap and turn the next peg, and we know we need to come back to here when we're coming back this direction from over here. So now we're going to E-wrap our way back. Okay, and then we're going to wrap, toss both loops over on that wrap and turn. Then we're going to wrap and turn the next peg, and then we're going to E-wrap all the way over to this wrap and turn over here. We're going to toss both loops over and then wrap and turn the next peg, and you'll notice that we're adding a peg each time we go back and forth, and you'll notice that this over here is going to extend, and what it is it'll give you this flat cap look, okay, and it'll extend. And then once you get back to this center point where you're meeting up, after you've wrapped and turned and you meet up and there's no more wrap and turning you can do and you've tossed your wrap and turns over, when you reach this middle point back here, which is going to be somewhere in here, that's when you're going to be doing the number D. You're going to do 5 rows circularly of just E-wrap, which is going to be the back half of the head at the crown area, and then we're going to do a fine gauge drawstring bind off kind of thing, so it's really smooth at the crown of the head. And so that's basically what you're doing. You're extending this slowly by adding one more until you meet up in the back. And so you're extending it slowly, and then you're going to want to do 5 rows, and then I'll show you how to do a bind off. But yeah, slowly add your pegs back in until you meet back up here, and then you're going to do 5 rows because you're doing number D. So whatever you did for the rib stitch, you're going to do just E-wrap for 5 rows, and then I'll show you how to do the bind off. Okay, well, I have done my hat, and as you can see, you'll see that it slowly has attached itself through here. Okay, and you'll see that there's a section where I started working circularly. And in the previous photos, you'll have noticed that there was back here, there was a wrap and turn here. At this point, you're just going to start going circularly. So that's where your circular point is, and that's when you're going to go back to however many rows you did with your rib stitch. You're just going to do an E-wrap. So at this point, we're ready to do our drawstring bind off. And I want to, okay. So to start, I'm going to do something similar to the fine gauge bind off, except I'm not going to do the 2 rows. I'm just going to do 1 row in between my decreases. So what you're going to do is you're going to knit 2 pegs, 1, 2. Then you're going to take that second stitch, move it over 1, toss the bottom loop over, move it over. Then you're going to knit the next 4 pegs. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to take that last one you did and you're going to move it back 1. You're going to toss that bottom loop over and you're going to move that over 1. Okay, now you're going to knit 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to take that last one, move it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it forward. And you're going to do this all the way around so that in between the empty pegs you should have 3 stitches. Okay. So go ahead and continue to knit 4 more. Take that back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move over 1. Continue this all the way around until you get back to your starting point over here. Okay, now you're back at the beginning, and now what you want to do is you want to go in and you want to just knit all the pegs with stitches, and you're just going to do 1 row of that. So there's my 3. And I move it behind that empty peg. I knit the next 3. And I'm going to do this all the way around just for a single row. Okay. So we're back to our center point here, and we've already done our 1 row, and so we're back to here. And what you're going to do is you're going to knit those 3, and then you're going to take that last stitch and you're going to move it over 1, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over. Okay, then you're going to go to the next 3 and you're going to knit those. Take that last stitch, move it over 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over. And you'll notice that every other peg is starting to become empty. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to do a row where we just go in and we just knit the pegs with stitches. Seaming the working yarn behind the empty pegs to knit those stitches, so we're only going to do one row. Okay, now what we're going to do is I've already set me up a long tail, and I'm just going to cut it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to send this tail through every other stitch. Okay, and then we're going to skip that one. We're going to go to the next one. We're going to send that through. Toss the loop over, skip that one, send this one through, skip that one and send it through. So you're sending it through every other stitch all the way around for the first round. Okay, we've worked ourselves all the way around, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and skip that one and pull through this one. And then just go in and pull through the rest of them. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see this elongated area here. You know you're going to pull that first. Okay. And that gets it narrowed through there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to pull the second. And I had something strange happen. I don't know what. It doesn't normally do this to me. But you're going to pull it. And like that. And then what I like to do is pull those flat knit stitches out. And what that does is it smooths it out to where it's flatter, as you can see. Okay. So there is your flat cap, and what you want to do is after you get done pulling that in, you can snip the end to make it a little easier to deal with. And then you find your center point and crochet. Hook that end in. To the inside of the hat. Because you want to be able to tie that off. I usually go to the opposite side there. Pull it partially through. Not all the way through, just partially through. And then you can just half knot it. And then you can cut your extras off. Okay. So you've got the back of the hat, and there's the front. And now you'll want to go in and take your crochet hook, and you can go in the opposite end, and you can just go in and pull that extra yarn in so you don't ever have to see it. And stretch it back out for your main one. And then what you can do is when you go to put it on, if you want to tack those two ends together, you can. But in general, that is your flat cap and how you make it, and the formula you can use to transfer it to any other loom that you want. If you do a fine gauge, which is say 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch, instead of doing a single row of knit between those decreases, you want to do 2 rows. So you would do the traditional, but because this is a larger gauge still, I did 1 row between my decreases. And so there you go. That's how you do it.